We haven't really talked before.
Yeah, not really. We've emailed a couple times, but
Yeah, so I kind of just wanted to get like a quick rundown of like what kind what kind of bike are you riding right now? Like what bikes do you ride the most?
here's my that's my electric queen. So it's my mountain bike.
Okay.
But yeah, I do that. Gravel, road, BMX. Not so much BMX anymore. I used to be pretty into it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm learning here. That's
Yeah.
really cool though.
Yeah, let's
And
go this way.
what way? All good? Where you
All
at?
good.
Where are you at?
I am in River Falls, Wisconsin. The trail is called Whitetail Ridge. So this is in my hometown. Started helping build it back in 2006.
Nice. So are you there like visiting or do
Nope,
you live
I
there?
live here. I just live down the road. I'm a townie.
Oh, well, no, so I'm wondering because isn't Park Tool in Minnesota?
It is. So I'm about half an hour away.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so, so it takes 30 minutes to get there. It's about 35 miles away.
Gotcha. Okay, so that
Yeah.
would explain it. Um,
Yeah. Not too far.
well, I was like, does he travel like statewide to get to Park Tool to work? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. But it's not that far. We actually have a lot of people from Wisconsin that work at Park Tool. Not necessarily from where I'm at, but at a few different
Yeah,
cities but a lot from a little bit further north from here.
I'm not super up on the geography of Minnesota and where exactly all of that is, so it's kind of cool to hear about that.
Yeah, so um, Park is located on the eastern side of St. Paul, which is pretty much the eastern side of Minnesota, and so it's not far. So it's pretty easy.
Gotcha.
I got to get my dog on the leash here. Hey, Stella, come here, come here.
Do we get a dog appearance?
We can get
Oh, it's a puppy. That's
a little
awesome.
trail dog action.
Heck yeah. How long have you worked at Park Tool?
It's almost 3 years.
Really?
So, yep, not too long.
So did you go there specifically to be in videos, or did that just kind of happen?
Pretty much went there specifically for videos and technical kind of help and what what I do. Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah. So um, they had come and visit us at the bike shop I was working at the time
Uh-huh.
because we were some of the first people to get the newest touring stand at the time, which was the TS4. So I started one of those videos, and I don't know, then I was going to apply for another job and then ended up not based on the recommendation of somebody who worked there, and then held out for another basically year and a half. And this job came about. Somebody let me know about it and I applied, and 3 interviews later, I got the job.
That is
Woo!
too cool. That it really
Yeah.
is because normally and in all the situations I've ever had where it was like a company who started doing video like that, it was not like we're gonna have this person come in for video. It was like the place where I just recently worked at, it was he worked there already and then just like it was one of those situations like who's gonna be in the video and then he volunteered and then all of a sudden he was really good at it and just became the face of it.
Yeah. Well, that's like Calvin.
Is that how that happened for
Calvin
him?
basically, that's exactly what happened. He started making videos to help people. Like people would call in, and it's really hard to help diagnose and fix people's bikes without seeing it or without
Right,
showing people like exactly what's going on.
right,
So the videos were they made sense at the time. It just wasn't a they weren't super high quality. It was a chest camera and like Gen 1 GoPros and nothing fantastic. And then there was benefit was gleaned from it, and more investment was put towards it.
that
And then
is
over the years, it's become a very large part of our company.
Right. I mean, you've even got the chief in there in
Oh yeah,
videos like somewhat on a regular basis at this point.
yeah. It's different now. It's been a really weird thing with COVID.
Yeah.
Um, just because normally our thing is just like sitting on there and kind of going back and forth and
Right.
uh, you know kind of debating on tech and talking about experiences and we haven't had that opportunity because we haven't been able to be sitting next to each other and it's weird to be in a video with masks on and
Right.
being 6 feet apart. That's fine, but we're in an enclosed space, super tight quarters in there, and
Yeah,
it's
there's
just
almost no way to do it like
yeah, we're
that.
thinking about maybe putting up plexiglass between us and kind of going there, but
You could always do it
um,
how I'm doing this because on the
yeah,
live stream right now, I'm green screened in and it like looks like I could be with you almost.
put it like this: big trees next to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
you sit in the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's so cool to hear about all of that, honestly.
yeah,
And now you've
yeah, it's
got
fun.
this giant studio, like workshop background, and it's every time I watch those videos, I'm like, man, I gotta get up there one day, just like see it
Stop by, get on up here.
one
There's a
day.
yeah, there's a pretty serious BMX scene in the cities, and there we've got there's two racetracks around the Twin Cities, and then
Yeah,
all kinds of street street access and
skate
concrete
parks,
parts and wooden ones, and then indoor. We used
man.
to have um, we used to have an indoor 24-hour access like kind of key
Oh, the
card
factory.
thing. Yeah, the factory.
Do you know him?
I don't know him
Oh, okay.
personally. Know people who do know him, but I don't know him personally.
Yeah, that was Dustin. Uh,
Yeah.
that's I didn't even realize that that was in the same area. And
Yeah, not too far from Park Tool.
X Games was there 2 years in a row.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So last year I went down to X Games and watched Vert when Alex was there, Alex Landeros.
Mm-hmm.
So I know him from working with him at a shop, and we were doing BMX at the same time.
Wow,
So we were kind of into it.
that's a
Yeah.
small world because I'm teammates with Alex on another company, and I remember like way back over 10 years ago watching him at a contest. That is
Yeah.
too cool.
He just broke his foot. He's kind of off the bike for a while, I guess. But who
Yeah,
knows?
I saw that.
He recovers pretty quick.
Right. You usually do. But so you've been at Park Tool for 3 years. You went there for the video. Man, that is just
Yeah.
it's really cool. Like I was saying, you guys could do something like this if you wanted to do videos like that. It would be a little harder, but
I don't. It's we gotta get through it. We are also completely swamped. So we have we both Calvin and I wear a lot of hats.
mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of other stuff going on. More tech questions we've ever had. More communications, phone conversations, emails, all kinds of stuff. We are currently at a state of emergency that so we have our company's kind of cool because more than half of it is a manufacturing facility. So
Yeah.
there is half of it manufacturing is going on, machines are running, people are assembling, people are packaging, people are shipping. We got trucks coming in, trucks going,
Right.
containers here and there and everywhere, and the robots are welding and things are going on. And then we've got an office up front with maybe 15 to 20 people. And but in these last few weeks, the office people have been having to put in about 2 hours a day of manufacturing side work.
Wow.
Uh, so and it helps a ton. You think about, that's basically all of us combined is basically having a couple extra employees around
Right.
just for those 2 extra hours. But when we're back there, we're all kind of fresh and rejuvenated and really energized and ready to do lots of work. And we go back and it's really fun actually. So
That I mean that's really good to hear too because that means like that's just how busy things are. Normally in the manufacturing environment, when you've got office people going out and are working on the floor, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, it's usually not such a great thing, but this is great. It's good for both parties. Good for both the office people in the back, and then the manufacturing people, and then good for the company. It's a big team. Everybody likes each other. Everybody gets along. It's
Yeah.
it's really been a cool experience and a lot of fun to go back there and um, kind of I'm back there quite often looking over things and,
Hmm.
get calls and warranties and wanting to figure out more details on products or like, we're doing a video on something and I want to understand more about it and want to understand the manufacturing process and
Yeah.
everything it goes through. And so back there, I'm back there. Calvin and I are back there all the time talking with the guys back in the machining area and shipping, talking to the shippers. And so we kind of know everybody, but we've not necessarily worked side by side before. So it's
Hmm.
been a lot of fun chatting with those guys, making them, getting them all to understand that we really care about this company. We want it to succeed. We want to, keep on going and pushing forward, even when these daunting numbers come in, from these companies all over or from these distributors all over the world, and they come in and like, we have to build how many? How many do we normally build? Oh my gosh, this is insane.
Yeah. Has there ever been a time where there's been this much demand for these things ever before?
I didn't live through the 70s, but that would be probably the closest I would expect to have ever, seen before. I think there was a maybe an uptick back in '08, but nothing even remotely close to what we have going on right now.
That's incredible.
In tools, we're kind of an interesting spot. I have I do a little farming on the side, so I was at
Hmm.
the farm store looking for a huge set of snap ring pliers,
Yeah.
um, and there's no tools there. There was
Wow.
no tools at either of the place that I stopped to find more general tools, not specific to bikes, and I kind of got my mind going. I was like, wait, tools in general are popular, and then bike tools on top of it. Bikes are really popular right now. There's a huge uptick, based on what's going on, and
Right.
so it's put it in perspective. Like, wow, we are really it's an in demand thing. People want to be at home doing stuff. People want to be keeping their hands going and moving and shaking, and they want to have the right tool for the job.
Right.
So really, we're doing really really well with trying to fill as many orders as possible, doing better than some other companies at this time. But everybody's doing their best, and it's been interesting to see the different strategies coming out of different companies and
Hmm.
how they're dealing with it.
That's also interesting to hear about too. Just
Yeah,
because of the pure insanity of everything going on and how it almost felt like it was like a light switch.
it really was. It was like 1 minute. It was like, what's going on? This is kind of crazy. Let's see how long this goes. And then it was like, oh, our sales are going up. And I was like, no, our sales are going way up. Like, because at the start of it all, nobody knew exactly what was going to happen. And then,
Right.
so for manufacturers, they kind of had, with manufacturers, some of them were playing, this game of waiting and trying to see how the tariff thing kind of went through,
Right.
and some other people were, concerned about the virus early on, didn't know how it was going to go, so people were kind of holding their cards tight. And then Chinese New Year hit, and then it was, nobody, you weren't able to get anything, and then all of a sudden after that, no production at all, no containers, nothing was coming out.
Yeah.
So, and for other companies, that's a huge deal. We do a lot of building of tools in the States. So it wasn't a huge deal for us, but it was, a kind of a blow
Hmm.
um, to part of our business, but not all parts. And then, with COVID, we're all like, okay, well, it's fine. We'll take it easy. We don't know what the sales are going to happen. And then all of a sudden, it's just like bikes are an essential business. The was it Bellagio, the New York City mayor? We were at a show, Cabot, the last show we went to.
Uh-huh.
Um, they were like, "Don't go on public transport use your bike. So they're saying on the
Oh,
news, use your bike. And then so that was kind of when people were like, huh, maybe bikes are going to get popular. And then like 2 weeks later, just insanity hit.
that is incredible.
Yeah, it's been a while. How's like so the bike shop's near you. So I know you got that headset and everything. How's business over down there at that shop?
It's everything I've heard from everywhere around here is that this is the craziest that it's ever been. They've got people coming in every day. There's just like piles, not piles literally, but insane amounts of bikes in there for repairs and things. And at first, it started out with like the bikes were all just disappearing as they came in, which they still are. But
Yep.
then it went to the parts too, because everybody immediately, as soon as they couldn't get a bike, they were like, "Oh, I'll fix up the one I have." So now we need parts, and then that went out. And at the bike shop that I ride for, the Brimstone shop you're talking about, he told me last time I was in there that the previous month was their best month ever, like of all time being open, and they can't do anything. Then there's another shop that I know the people who run it. They took it to a point where they set aside 2 days a week where they are not answering the phones, they're not open, they're only in there doing repairs just so they can try and keep up with them.
Yeah, this is so it's crazy. So, I was talking about companies changing their strategy, these shops that have been doing these things for the whole shop existence. And some of these shops have been around for a long time,
Yeah.
and they're having to change a long going strategy to something just to, so it's nice that it's good to see how flexible people are and the changes that they're making. And it's just, it's been, um, it's been an interesting time. That's a good way to put it, I
It
guess.
really
It's been
has.
interesting.
And the spike in all of this is awesome to see too, because before that I feel like bike shops, I mean I can't say in general because I don't know, but I feel like from what I heard and stuff that some bike shops were struggling a little bit because things were a little slow. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, boom, like there's a bike shop near me, like the bike shop my dad got his first bike at is still open. That guy was trying to like sell it and stuff, and now I heard you go in there and there's just no bikes there because they can't keep them in stock, and all the repair stuff is crazy. So it's like it went from that to they're probably making more money than they ever have before.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's, so there's a little new shop in town that I work at, part time.
Mm-hmm.
Just a brand new startup. So we started putting I was kind of helping them start out the business, and um, really getting the kind of strategy down and kind of helping them with the building. So we put on the roof, put on insulation, did walls, did the flooring, put up all the benches, and it's a bike shop brewery.
Oh,
So it's been really interesting from that side too. Um, what was really crazy was, kind of getting going, kind of keeping things slow. Didn't want to get too much
yeah,
inventory too fast. Didn't want to get way ahead of ourselves. So playing it slow, and then all of a sudden, you can't get tubes to fix bikes. You
right.
you can't get tires. You can't get patch kits. You can't get, you name it. It's hard to
Mm-hmm.
find right now, and it's kind of a catch-22 sometimes because the demand is up so much. So somebody walks in and they want something, and you can't provide it. So
Right,
it's super weird,
right,
to have this opportunity but not be able to capitalize on it as much as possible.
right.
But it's been a fantastic season. It was actually a great year to start a business like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No kidding. You guys picked the perfect time to get in there. Um, the whole tube thing blows me away. When I was in the shop and he told me they're sold out of tubes, he's like, normally when you go on QBP, you go in there and it's like thousands are in stock. Right now, you go in
Yeah,
there and there's zero.
minimum orders of like, or not minimum, but like maximum orders of like 100.
Yeah,
Now you go in there, and when they get inventory in, it's like max order quantities of 5. So they're trying to get them to go all over the place. So they're
Right.
trying to keep bigger stores from buying the entire inventory. So
Wow.
they're trying to, it's just their distributors are doing the best they can to get the tubes and all these essential parts going to the right places. But
Yeah.
it's everything sells out in minutes. You know, you're on there and you're like, I'm going to be ready for it, and you're never going to be ready for it because there's shops all over the country who are waiting for the same thing you are.
Who would have ever thought that bicycles and bicycle parts would be like Metallica concert tickets or something crazy where it goes up and they're just
Right,
gone.
right up there with the Metallica tickets or the toilet paper during that one
Yes.
week, crazy week, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's wild. It's just insane. And these there's a large shop near us, very big specialized dealer, and they ran out of specialized bikes. So he went to every other manufacturer he could, and he bought them out, bought
Wow.
every single one he could. And it's that's he did what he had to do to get bikes in the door. But yeah, it's kind of wild what's going on.
I feel like for the people that like really get to take advantage of it and can have the manpower to throw at it, it's going to be a great thing.
Oh, for sure. And I'm so grateful to be in the bike industry right now because so many industries are not doing so well
Yeah.
that it's my passion. I love bikes. I love biking, everything about it. And I've never overly thought that it was this essential business. I always kind of put it in the recreation category.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really admire. I used to commute every day to work. Now I'm a little bit too far away to commute, but
Yeah.
used to commute every day, a utilitarian vehicle. Now I use it to go get groceries and use it to go get coffee or, go down and, visit, whatever store, get whatever, my wife and I want to go get ice cream. We're going to go on our bikes. And it, but I always kind of had it associated with recreation, but
Right.
now it's definitely essential, not just because to and from the grocery store, but like just to keep your sanity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's the other thing. You got families going and buying bicycles just to ride bikes together.
So fun to ride around town. And, I usually have a bell on my bikes just to be friendly. And, if
Mm-hmm.
somebody's, going slower than me, I don't want to yell at them and be like, on your left,
Yeah.
on your left. I'm just going to give them a friendly ding and be like, hey, how's it going? Just coming by. But yeah, it's so fun to see just huge families out for bike rides, and everybody's on a bike. From the littlest up to dad and mom, and everybody's got bikes, and they're just all smiles. And then these elderly people, they're out there, and they've just got these like, I've just learned how to ride a bike again kind of look,
Yeah.
or like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
riding a bike again. It's just so exhilarating and fun. So been a, it's been a lot of fun, other than the really terrible parts about all this. But
Well, yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of crazy that what triggered all of this to happen is something that they're literally telling people like you need to stay at home. And then the whole bicycle industry exploded because you can go and ride a bike and you're by yourself. If someone's
yeah,
6 feet
exactly.
from you, they're too close.
Yeah, exactly. You can just be like, I'm gonna ride away from you, or ride on this next road. I'm gonna turn, get
You're
away, and
you're getting unsafe if you're getting 6 feet because the chances of accidents and whatnot.
yeah, exactly. You're not gonna be that within that close. So, it's been one way that me and my friends have, been able to keep up with each other because
Mm-hmm.
we can go ride bikes with each other. We don't, not everybody wants to go and hang out or meet up somewhere
Right.
or anything like that. And usually, I go bike rides with one or two people, and then we bring our masks and we'll stop at a place halfway through and have a drink and go outside on the patio or something.
Yeah.
It's Yeah, and being in Wisconsin, things have been interesting, and so yeah, it's been a thing to get used to.
It's the silver lining to a crazy, crazy time right now. What I'm sitting here wondering is because I haven't been like super ingrained in like the people that are buying like tools and whatnot. So how does this giant boom in bicycle sales translate to tools. I mean, there's the obvious of somebody buys a bike, they want tools to fix the bike, but like to make it as crazy as it is, what makes that happen?
Basically, it was like a perfect storm. People, and the lack of availability is fueling more of our sales, I feel like. So, um, you go to the bike shop and you want to buy a new bike and you want it to work better than your last bike and you want all
Mm-hmm.
these things, and they can't get you what you want. So you go home and you're like, what am I going to do? I'm going to pull this old bike out of the rafters. I'm going to fix it up. And then they, get on YouTube and they find 600 different videos from this company that sells tools.
Yep.
And you are like, okay, this is how I use it. This is what I'm going to do. This is cool. I'm going to go and buy this tool right now. Go and buy the tool. You know, if they're, they fix their bike and they share their experiences, and they'll call us and they'll ask us for advice, and we give them great advice. You can always reach Park Tool on the phone, and it's just been really interesting. And then bike shops have also been they have of course been buying more tools because of this. So they've been
Yeah.
either getting more staff on, or replacing tools, because it's kind of been this time where it's not a lull. They're going all out, but it's
Mm-hmm.
almost a time where they feel like they can invest and replace tools that have been worn out or kind of been around for too
Ah,
long,
that's a good point
or they're
too.
going to set up another bench. So it's and we're seeing an uptick in our electric lift stands, because people are finding it logical to get those, the PRS 33.2s, just so they can lift bikes easier. And
Yeah, you're
it's
lifting
so
bikes all day long now. Uh, make it a little easier.
exactly. So yeah, that's kind of what we've kind of seen, is just people going to the bike shop, can't get the bike, they got to go fix their own bike. So and then we have so many calls from current Park tool owners, and they
Mm-hmm.
want to rejuvenate their tools or rejuvenate their stands or buy something new.
Yeah.
So us having replacement parts in things to update their older equipment has been another big thing, or us just being able to help them get their old equipment back up and going again.
This
So
is
it's
so fascinating.
it's so wild. You just, people call up and like, I have this stand, it's from the early 90s, and la la la, this, and it doesn't fit my new bike, but I haven't worked on it because I've been bringing it to the shop, but they can't get it done in the next 3.5 weeks, but I want to ride it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you hook them up with some parts, you find the part numbers, and they order the tool parts and get the stand going, get their bike back up and rocking, and then they have some stuff that they can maintain their bikes with for the future.
Yep. That it
um,
makes perfect sense when you like lay it out like that.
yeah, it's been cool. So both from hearing from people and hearing their experiences, and then also just on our side, just seeing these massive numbers from around the world, the the world over, these orders coming in are really wild. So it's been good.
Another thing that blows my mind with all of it is how long it's lasting.
Yeah, I think now it's the point where all these companies, every one of these companies, every company in almost every company in the world, they don't know what's going to happen. There's this uncertainty,
Uh-huh.
and then there's the bike industry right now, super popular, buzzing, trending. How do you forecast?
Yeah.
What's next? Like, what happens? Winter hits. Is it going to be crazy? Here in the Midwest, or my section of the Midwest, upper Midwest, we'll call it. They, is it going to be a crazy fat bike season?
Right. I was
Like,
just
there's
thinking
going to
that.
be a lot more people that want to go fat biking in the winter, because here at this trail, we have two snowmobiles, and we groom for fat biking, and it's almost better than it is in the summer.
Wow.
It is awesome. So it's already a popular activity in our part of the world, but we were definitely seeing a decline in popularity, or new riders getting into it.
Uh-huh.
But I'm curious to see what is going to happen going into this next winter season, because even at the shop, and then just numbers from around the cities, seeing people getting the fat bikes, partially because it's all they can get. It's like all the shops have
Um,
right now.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it too, like if the pandemic and everything going on lasts into the winter time, people already get cabin fever in the winter. If they have to stay home and just not do anything because everything is still closed in the wintertime, and there's the only thing they can do in the summer right now is ride their bike, the next logical step is how do I ride my bike in the winter?
Yeah, it's a totally release thing. It's like uh, they people need something. They need a release. They need to get out. They need to
Yeah.
blow off the day's steam, get past what all the crazy stuff that happened at work, and they need something. So a lot of runners, that's they run to get that release, or people do all kinds of activities. But yeah, right now it's kind of biking, get out of the house, get break up that stir craziness.
Right. I
Uh,
wonder what that's gonna
yeah,
mean for Rays.
what's that?
Wonder what that's gonna mean for Rays here in Ohio.
Yeah, I bet people are going to come from all over.
Oh
If
my.
it's open, I'm sure they will be.
They're open right now for Sundays, but you have to have your mask when you're not riding, and when you're riding, you can pull it down. That if they get the go ahead to make that the rule and be at capacity, that place is going to be a madhouse.
Right? It's going to be nuts.
You have to come
It's
visit.
gonna be, yeah, I do. We will. Maybe we will. I don't know. It depends on how crazy it is. It's been a really wild season for me. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, you
But
mentioned that you farm too.
yeah, that's
Something.
kind of a part of it too. It's been a crazy farming season too.
Yeah.
So just
Wh-
a ton of really well timed rains.
that's
Um,
good. That's not
it's been
here.
really good. Uh, Prices are not that great, but the the crops are great. The hay, the corn, the beans, it's all doing good.
That's
Um,
good.
yeah. So, but yeah, that means I'm going to be really really busy, which is good, but also not relaxing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you might not know it, but my part-time day job is actually.
Ella, lost my dog.
Uh-oh. All good? Okay. Uh my part-time day job in the week is actually working for a company that manufactures a farm tractor.
Oh no way! What do they manufacture?
Tillmore.
Tillmore. I don't know if I've heard of that one.
You'll have to look that one up. They're more of they have a two-wheel tractor that they make that's similar to the Planet Junior, if you ever heard of that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They basically made a modern Planet Junior that is like good for they basically is like the Planet Junior of the 21st century that has adjustment and all the things you can do. And then they have a I don't know what you'd even call it, but it's a tractor. It's a crop row tractor. Maybe that's what it would be called. But yeah, I work for them. I do all of their video stuff and all of their
Nice.
marketing and whatnot.
That's fantastic. That's Yeah, the Planet Junior. I remember pushing that down in the garden, and planting with the Planet Junior, and
Yeah.
they were everybody. I mean, a lot of people still have them around here for for things. So
Yeah, you should
that's
look up
great.
Tillmore and look up their Power Ox because the Power Ox is basically like meant to be the modern Planet Junior that you can actually get parts for and not have to scour eBay and go into forums and learn about this tractor and basically buy the parts to rebuild what you have.
It's because getting the parts for these old pieces of farm equipment is tough. That's why a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people will buy multiples of them.
From the
They'll
60s.
get two, one for using and one for parts.
Yep.
Uh,
I'll have to send
yeah,
you a link.
yeah, for sure.
It's a small world, man.
It really is. Every time I think it can't get any smaller, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to touch on, I think I sent it to you, but so I've got 2 years ago we redid the book, and or Calvin redid his book, the BBB4,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a couple people request wanting torque specs for BMX parts,
Yeah.
and basically, I knew it wasn't really a thing, but I
Yeah.
didn't know to what extent it was. What do you know about torque specs when it comes to BMX bikes?
I know that I should stop whenever like it's all in my hand. It's
Yeah,
literally like, and it's all an experience because I know that if you tighten those cap bolts on your stem too far, you're gonna break it.
yeah,
I
like
know that your rear wheel, if you've got pegs on there, there is no torque spec because if you don't tighten it tight enough, your back wheel's gonna move
yeah, it needs to be tight,
as
like
tight as you
tight.
can get. I kind of go with
Yeah,
like grunts, you know, how they make jokes about like mechanic torque specs, like 3 grunts are tight enough.
that's legit in BMX,
It
and that's
really is, though. It's
that's all I've ever known in BMX. You know, like your stem, you get it as tight as you can because you don't want your bars rolling on you. That's one of the worst things. It's just a big bummer. I mean, one of the worst things I've seen in BMX was I was racing and guy jumped a triple and his front wheel fell off midair. Like so he was 12 feet in the air
oh
jumping this
no,
triple and wheel fell off, just a mess
oh
afterwards
it's a
because
front
the
flip.
fork just hits the ground and you just face
That's
plant.
that's a front flip. So thinking about this a little further too, this torque spec thing, I guess what you could do is get a BMX bike and tighten everything to where you think it should be, and then get your torque wrench and like start lower than what you think it is, and work your way up to where you
Yeah,
find the torque that it's at, and that's it. Or
yeah, and because at the time I had reached out to companies and maybe one of them got back to me and said torque specs. I don't know what you're talking about. Tighten it till it's tight.
yeah, but
But
there is a
it,
lot of things.
yeah, so for me and BMX side, I understand it and have been in it, but in the last few years, it's been mostly mountain bikes and road bikes and gravel bikes and city bikes,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much every single part on those bikes has a torque spec, and if
Yeah.
it's not labeled on the part itself, it's in the literature for it. So like, you know, this bike here, let's say, just these little togs. There's a little torque spec right on it.
Oh
Or like,
wow.
just all kinds of different stuff. Like the axle.
Oh yeah. Okay, I've seen that writing before. I've just never like
Yeah.
looked into it.
Yeah. So there's torque specs not only, written right on the item, but also in their literature. And I think most of it has to do with a little bit of CYA, um, covering their butts a little bit of if somebody over tightens it or under tightens it,
Yeah.
they can say, "Hey, we told you what it should be tightened to. Kind of on you that this happened."
Yeah, and maybe this is something that should happen in the BMX world, but just has been overlooked. I think the BMX mentality on that would just be like, you know what it should be. Like,
Yeah, just the right amount of chill. Just super chill. Like, yeah, just tighten it till it's tight, and you just go with it. And
but
there hasn't been that many issues with that.
at the same time, I have a friend who cracked and broke his stem plate because he tightened it too tight.
Yeah. So then, but then what did he call the company and say, "Hey, dude, I tightened this too far. How tight should I get it?" And how many of those calls does that company have to get in order to, change their way of doing things?
Yeah, and I mean,
Or should they? I don't know. I'm not saying anybody should or shouldn't. I'm just, I'm curious about it because it's different than the other bikes that we're seeing out there, even city bikes.
so so when it comes to a torque spec, obviously you're trying to get to a point where, like, let's talk about the stem where you don't want your bars to move. Obviously that's where you're getting to too, and you don't want to go so far that you ovalize your bars or you break your stem. So there's a between, and I would imagine the number you choose is in the middle. If these companies, they're all, I mean, most of the good companies are testing their parts.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it would be something that they would could just do in the process, and maybe they should.
They theoretically they could figure out with if like in a stem, a lot of BMX stems are CNC aluminum.
Yes.
Pretty much, you can tell what the torque spec should be from your CAD drawing. What is the
Right.
thread? What threads are we using? What's the fastener? What's the yield point on that fastener? And then what's the yield point on this on this material that we're using for the stem? And then you look at the thickness of it. The program will basically spit it out for you.
That's a really good point too.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of those things where it's not a super difficult thing to figure out, but it's start putting torque specs on things. Is that not fun? I don't know.
I don't think it matters. I think it's a matter of safety. Like someone just said, this is a perfect like representation of why this should be a thing. Someone said, but isn't tightness mainly personal preference? No.
No.
I don't think it should be.
Too tight and it breaks. Too loose and you crash.
Yes.
There is too loose. There is too tight. Your personal preference. If your preference is too tight and it breaks and you crash, that's not fun. Or if it's too loose and your bars roll and face plant, that's not fun either.
It's a matter of safety, and the other aspect of it is that a bike shop can't have themselves covered in the BMX world, because if they tighten something not tight enough or too tight and it breaks, then it's on the bike shop. But if it was a torque spec, they could say, no, we tightened this to spec. This is not our fault. We did it as we were supposed to.
Yeah, and then the company says, we came up with that torque spec based on this, and this, so we're covered too.
It's a liability thing, and I feel like, just like we were saying, it's not something that should be really hard to figure out.
No, the materials and threading that we're dealing with are pretty given. It's aluminum, pretty given. Clamping onto in BMX there's carbon handlebars and everything. Sometimes it has to do with crushing the tubing that you're dealing with, like the handlebars are ovalizing the bars, like you said. So sometimes there's a little bit more thought process that needs to go into it, but you should be able to figure out when the stem is going to break, and that should be something to consider. And then the typical handlebar, and test a few things and see what's going on. Right. But yeah, I don't want to be the safety police or anything. I was just curious about what your thoughts on it all were.
Something. I really think you're onto something here, and it's also from another aspect behind why a company might want to do this is the warranty and replacement costs. If people are breaking your stuff and it has a lifetime, no questions asked warranty, and it's because they tightened it too tight or didn't tighten it tight enough, when you could have put the torque spec on there and had something not break, that's saving you money as well.
Yeah, exactly. So there's good for everybody. It's good. It could be a good thing for everybody, and it would give riders potentially more confidence. They wouldn't be questioning things. It'd be like, I have it to the correct tightness. I have the threads prepped the right way.
Yep.
This is what they said, and then a company's like, this is how we got our numbers, and it was based on this testing. It's good. I think it has the potential to be a good thing for everybody involved. The riders, the company. Hopefully the only people who hurt from it is the lawyers.
Yeah, and I totally agree with all of that. And I'm the kind of person that when I do these and I do my news videos and all of these things where I have to talk about opinions and different sides of the things, I try to think about both sides. And so here's the other side to this. A company can put their money into figuring out a torque spec. I don't know how much that would cost. It probably wouldn't cost a ton of money. Either way, though, just because they put it on there doesn't mean the whole entire BMX world and every single kid and person out there has to use it. Just because you're tightening things by feel now and they put a torque spec on the stem that you buy a year from now doesn't mean that you're automatically like, all right, I have to go buy a torque wrench and do this.
No, it just gives you a lot of times. So in our videos at Park Tool, we give people perceived feel, something people who don't have a torque wrench, give them a reference point, basically like this torque wrench or this torque, like a crank bolt on a pretty standard 3-piece square tapered crank.
Yep.
this thing is supposed to be brought up to 400 inch pounds, or somewhere around 40 45 newton meters. And okay, these numbers are not correct, by the way.
Yeah.
An 18-inch wrench held at the end, pushed down at 40 pounds, should give you about that amount of torque. So
Mhm.
we try to give you a feeling for what that torque actually is, based on feel. And you don't actually need to go and buy an expensive piece of equipment. You can
Right.
use perceived effort, which is better than nothing. You want to use at least some reference point. Like, yeah, I think that was about 40 pounds out here. I'd
Hmm.
guess you were close. And that torque spec, all these torque specs usually are a range. It's right in the middle. Like you said, it's right in the middle of like brake and not brake.
Yeah. That's a good point too, and that just is also a great reminder to everyone out there of how good Park Tools videos are and how thorough. And I feel like you guys have just gotten to a point where like that is what it is. You have this level of quality and you just cannot be below that or it's unacceptable.
You got to move forward. You gotta get better, and we appreciate all comments, negative or positive. And we read every single one of them, and we take them with either some of them we take with a grain of salt, which there obviously should have been,
Yeah.
and some of them we're like, that's a really great idea, or I can see where you're coming from. I think that we could do a better job doing this.
Yeah.
And some people share their videos with us, and we're like, yeah, that's a really great way of describing that. Or because when I watch a video, when I watch your videos, or I watch other videos from other people, I glean something from almost every single one of them. Okay, how did this person just how did they hold it in their hand?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, how are they holding this hex wrench that we've all used 100 times? How did that person hold it for that specific job? It's all these little tiny little technique differences that can make things go a ton faster, more efficient. You can do things that you weren't able to do before. It's just it's just it's the YouTube thing has been fantastic.
Yeah, you guys are
Real great.
definitely ahead of the game when it comes to the bicycle repair and just being the fact that it comes from the company that makes the tools.
Yeah, and
Definitely
so yeah,
ahead of
because
the
we
game.
see it from a lot of different sides. We hear from bike shops, and some bike shops use our videos as
Oh yeah.
training modules, basically.
Oops.
Uh-oh, there we go.
You're all right.
Yeah, so some use them as for training modules in their shops. A ton of people use them for know-how at home. There's all kinds of reasons people use the videos, but it's they're it's always good to have something to watch and see how somebody does it.
You're
And
right.
when you read it in a manual, um, it's all kind of rainbows and unicorns, and nothing can go wrong. And when you're doing it in a video, you show how it actually goes on. You're like, you have
Right.
to put effort into this, and when then you actually show that effort meant effort. Like, put a lot of
Hmm.
effort into it. You had to actually you turned it really hard, or tried to push really hard,
Yeah.
and then because that's sometimes all that people really need to get over this little hump in their repair. They're like, I can't get this off, and it just takes a couple more grunts, and they're
Right.
good to
Right.
go.
A really, really good topic just came up.
Yeah.
Grease, Loctite, or anti-seize? Question mark.
Huh.
Just talking about these things. This is something that I have come up in comments all the time and is really good.
Thread prep is a big topic, and it's there's companies that have dedicated their whole existence to it, and it's a fun topic. And sometimes it comes down to personal preference. Hey, Stella, come here. It comes down to personal preference. So, like, in a bottom bracket, I could hear, or just bottom brackets in general, any three of them can definitely be correct.
Hmm.
Uh, Threaded BSA bottom brackets, like something like this one,
Yep.
that I'm pretty much always going to recommend an anti-seize, because an anti-seize, it's going to be something, it's going to create separation from dissimilar metals, like in this case a steel frame with an aluminum CNC bottom bracket,
Yeah.
keeps those materials separated, and it also provides it provides lubrication, but in a very high pressure area. So in your bottom bracket, those threads are under, quite a bit of pressure, and
Yeah.
then um, they also have to they sit in there for a long time, just static. They're not being undone and done and undone and done.
Right.
It's something that you want to be able to get undone, years down the road and pull it out of there. So anti-seize has a longer lasting, like stayability, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And then it's also useful in titanium, keeping things separate. But would grease be wrong in this situation? No, grease is great for bottom brackets. It's just not as optimal as an anti-seize. But then like stem bolts, anti-seize or grease, both fantastic things to use. Loctite or a thread locker, that's a great thing to use too, because thread locker starts out basically as a lubricant, and then once it's in there, and then as you tighten that thread, it creates pressure, removes all the oxygen, and it hardens. So you're providing this lubricant to get it up to tension. Because we were just talking about torque specs. When you're talking about a torque spec, a lot of torque specs are based on the desired amount of tension on the fastener. Something that in my history that was always crucial fastener that you had to do an exact amount of torque on or yield points on was like head studs in a car. And the head studs in a car, they're narrow, they are rolled down in size to be more elastic, so they stretch. And they do that so they provide a certain amount of tension. So that's often what a torque spec is after. But that torque spec is only effective if the threads are prepped correctly. So like if your threads are dry, even if you get to that torque spec, you might not be getting that fastener up to the correct amount of tension. So the thread prep is really crucial. So like in stem bolts, back to that, any three of them is going to provide lubricity, lubricate it so that you can pull that bolt up to the correct amount of tension.
Right.
Yeah, but it does depend on the area. There are some places that are crucial to have thread locker. I would say crank bolts or chainring bolts. That's a place where usually you see thread locker.
Yep.
You can use it on your bottom bracket if you're having issues with them coming unthreaded. There's in suspension bikes, on the linkages, a lot of times you'll use a thread locker, or even in like a press fit situation, like on some suspension linkage bikes, sometimes they do slip fit on a couple different bearings.
Yeah.
And then you'll use a bearing retainer in there. So you need to be paying attention to kind of how to prep different areas, because a lot of times when you're pressing bearings in, you're just going to use grease.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this bearing just slips right in, and you're like, wait, that wasn't a press fit. There was no interference. And that's when you use a bearing retainer. So it's meant to retain something cylindrical in a bore.
This is all really technical stuff that I did not know about. One thing I did get from this though, so when thread locker does its thing and hardens, does that mean that when you take that bolt out, you should take the thread locker off of that bolt and reapply it again? Or is it good to put back?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I don't know 100% on that one, but I will say that I usually will clean it off, because when you remove it, it has hardened, and it's not necessarily as good as it once was.
Yeah.
Anaerobic thread locker, the stuff like a dry patch that comes on a bolt,
yeah,
you can typically reuse it, but you definitely notice that it's not as good as the first time.
Interesting.
It's not something that you're going to want to trust if it's a critical area. So you're going to want to reapply. And you'll notice right away, if you go to remove that fastener and you just put fresh thread locker on it, it's going to be much tougher to get out than if you had reused the thread locker that you had on it before. So
that's really interesting.
I'd say new every time that you need it.
Yeah. This is all, it's just like, it's almost because I have zero background in anything besides BMX bikes.
Yeah. So for me, a little bit of my background, I grew up with bikes biking all the time, loved bikes, raced BMX starting
Mm-hmm.
in like first grade and kind of going up until about seventh grade. And I got a mountain bike, started racing mountain bikes. Then started working in bike shops. Then I started working in tractor repair shops
Yeah.
and went to school for automotive and diesel industrial. So spent 2 years of my life every day for 8 hours learning about what, automotive, diesel, and industrial. But
Yeah.
really what I was learning, and now looking back, was just mechanical fundamentals.
Right.
What, thermodynamics and, this fluid and what it does and why and how, and these thread lockers and what it can do, and these anti-seize and like this fastener and why it's critical, and the criticalness to its prep. You got thread prep is crucial for this or that.
Mm-hmm.
Or all kinds of different things, or like hydraulic brakes, hearing about those from another side, another different industry. So I feel like sometimes it's really good to look at other industries for inspiration.
Yeah, it
Not
seems
sometimes,
like
I always think it is. It's just crucial to look at other people who may be doing something better than somebody in the same industry as you.
that's a really good point. Like, how things overlap, and like a lot of concepts that apply to bicycle mechanics also apply to other mechanics. And you would think, man, that I would have way more in-depth like insight on this, because my dad actually owns a transmission shop and has my entire life. So like I am constantly just, and that's why I can go out and make the videos that I do in the garage, and I have access to every single thing I could possibly ever need. But one interesting thing that you made, or that I was reminded of whenever you said the whole like taking into consideration other industries and things. When I first handed him the crescent wrench, the PAW6, he was like looking at it, he's like, that's like the best crescent wrench I've ever seen in my life, because of how precise and how tight everything is. Literally, I've got one sitting right here.
Oh,
So
dude, it's
it
such an
doesn't
awesome
move.
it's such an awesome tool.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
come on.
really is. And it like, it doesn't, it's perfectly square. Like everything is right with it. And I showed that to him, and he just like really loved it. And then the same thing happened with the hammer. He saw the hammer that I had, and he's like, that's like a really, really good hammer. So I ended up getting him one of those hammers for Father's Day one year. But I just thought it was really funny that someone who has used like Snap-on, Matco, Mac Tools, all of these things his entire life looks at this Park tool and is like,
Yeah.
this is the best one I've ever seen.
Yeah, so that we get compared to those companies fairly frequently, and it's a different ball game. They're they there's a certain group of people who think our prices are a little bit high, but when you go and you compare us to like a Snap-on or a
Yeah.
Matco or Cornwell or Mac, oh man, a set of 7 wrenches is 300. 7 wrenches. What is it? What is the set I have? 10 through 17 Snap-on wrench. I think it's just 10. I think they skip 11, go to 12,
Yeah.
13, 14, 15. I think there's 7 wrenches. The value on those 7 wrenches is $350.
How much
For
is the
7
entire Park tool
combination
set
wrenches.
from what is it? Like
Yeah.
4 or something really, no. 10
I
might
think
be the
it's
smallest.
6.
Six
Either 6 or 7. I think
through
6.
17.
6 through 17. And it's not crazy. I don't have the number on top of my head, but
Well,
it's less than
guess
$100
what?
right now.
We've got it right here because I have
And
that ability.
and which one is the ratcheting even? Even the ratcheting.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll take it even a step further and go ratcheting.
Yeah, the whole kit and caboodle, like 6 through 17, ratcheting versus just fixed combination wrenches.
I'm going for it right now. Let's see. Oh my goodness.
MWR set, I think is what it is.
MWR, that should help me a little more. There it is. Oh, interesting. Pull this up. 120 for the
120.
whole set.
The whole thing and ratcheting. Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame, and for double the amount of wrenches with a whole nother feature involved and moving parts, it's less than half as much. It's just kind of wild.
Yep.
Um, and we have a limited lifetime warranty. We don't have like some of those companies have a break it and we'll replace it kind of policy. But there's
Yeah.
you can't even they're changing their tune on that because improper use is a serious issue, and it can be a safety issue. But if you're putting a 10-foot pipe on a
Right.
4-inch wrench,
Right.
that's all.
It's gonna
That's
break.
it's gonna break.
It's not made to stand up to the force of 10 foot of leverage and a whole entire person's body weight. But
Yeah,
and another point to that is the longer time goes, the longer these companies exist, and you've got companies like Craftsman who you hear the stories of, this is my grandpa's wrench and I broke it and took it into the Sears store and they gave me a new one right there.
yeah, yeah. And that's a fantastic. And people have that with Park Tool too. I like had this wrench and I've had it for 15 years and it broke and they took care of me. But it's always got to be reasonable and
Mm-hmm.
within reason. Certain things you look at and you're just like, really? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
I think I will believe you in this time. Okay, I'll help you out this time. Next time we're gonna have a little bit longer conversation at least.
Yeah, but it just, when you compare things to like Snap-on, that's a really good point. When you have to pay for your tools in payments,
Yeah, legit, legit. Like I think one of their they have a financing section of their company. They have a Snap-on Finance, and one of their things. I have lots of friends who work in shops, and one of their things is keeping you in a new box. You
yeah,
pay off your old box because
yep,
these toolboxes are
crazy,
crazy. Just to get into one, you're talking two
thousands.
grand, $2,000 for like the basic of basic. And if you walk into a shop, nobody has the basic of basic. Everybody's
Nope,
got the creme de la creme, like $20,000
and it came
box.
empty.
No tools in it, 20 grand. Or like, yeah, it's even used. If you can find a sweet pearl Harley Davidson edition Snap-on box for like
Mm-hmm.
for somewhere around $5,000, that's a smoking deal. And you then put $100,000 worth of tools in it.
It's incredible, but like my dad growing up, his tools are worth more than gold to him.
Oh yeah,
That's
it's the
how
whole
it is.
livelihood. It's
Yep,
worth every single penny. Worth
yep.
every single penny.
And that's why I appreciate having Park Tools in my videos, because that started out as like a realization of, hey, I'm making these how-to videos every single week and I'm using tools. Maybe Park Tool would like me to be using the best bicycle tools that are out there in these videos, and I've been using them ever since because I reached out and Janet got back to me,
Yeah.
and now like it's just become a thing. Shout out to Park Tool is a thing in Ohio right now. Like,
Yeah, and
I
shout out
love
to
it.
Janet for like getting the company hooked up with you, and for you reaching out to us because yeah, we really appreciate everything that you do, and because you help us, you get our brand out there, and we really appreciate that. Just using them in front of the camera is great. But yeah, Janet, yeah, I miss Janet.
Yeah,
Wish she was still with Park, but yeah, she's kind of moved on a little bit, and so I don't know. It's been hard to get used to without Janet.
I'm sure. She
Yeah,
definitely seemed like she was I don't know the right word for it, like a staple could be a
she
word.
was. She was really good.
But
And she's probably super good at her new spot too. I can only imagine. But yeah,
hoping so. Janet, if you're still tuning in, which I'm sure she's watching this because it's you and me and we're talking,
I bet she is. Or she will be.
we miss you, and I don't know. I really appreciate all of it because she like backed me when my channel was like less than 1,000, maybe right around 1,000 subscribers a few years ago.
She had a good vision. Like she had good insight and like intuition to tell her this is going to be good, because a lot of times bigger companies base things off of like, okay, how many subscribers do you have, how many likes, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's not actually looking at the quality of the content, and what, what potential can come from that content. And that's, to some extent, in certain places you have to look at those things,
Right.
but you also have to have this outside vision of like, this person is coming up, they're doing this, they're showing that they're hard workers, they're putting a lot of energy into this. This isn't just like a, hey, I think I'm going to make a YouTube video with a couple buddies. And we get hit up all the time by people who have started a YouTube channel in the last week and
Yeah.
maybe uploaded 2 videos, and maybe it's going to be a great channel, but maybe it's not. But we haven't, seen somebody like you who's committed to their channel and committed to what they're going to be doing, and kind of doing things on a consistent basis. Those are huge. Yeah.
I really do appreciate it. I've told her so many times. Haven't had chances to tell you so many times, but I mean, look.
Yeah.
Like,
I gotta get you some new T-shirts, dude.
well, I honestly, I wear Park Tool t-shirts more than I wear any other t-shirts I have.
I feel like I know that.
Yeah, well, that's why
Yeah.
I say, like, I want the shirts because I can't have enough of them whenever I ride several days a week and then wear them all and they all end up dirty.
Yeah, it all end up dirty. I'm just watching the dog. She's in there. Oh, there's a
Whoa,
grouping of rocks getting
rock
these
pile,
bugs.
that's cool.
Yeah, got a little rock pile here. Yeah.
Nice background.
So this is a bummer because we got a good conversation going here. But my phone, the reason I've been going black is because it's been telling me I'm low on power. I have 2%.
Okay, well, I
So
wanted to
I'm gonna
end
be
it on
dying
me
here
saying
soon.
thank you for all of
Yeah.
this stuff again, just because of how much I appreciate it. So this is a perfect way to end this, and we will do it again because we barely
Yeah,
scratched the
no, I was
surface.
just gonna say we have to reconnect. Well, just like this. Maybe I'll be somewhere else. Who knows?
That would be cool.
Somewhere.
But on that note, I'm going to keep your battery life up. Thank you for doing this. It couldn't have been better.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having us. Stella says thanks.
Oh,
But,
bye,
yeah,
Stella.
thanks for having us on the show, and thanks for repping Park Tool. And awesome.
Always. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time. I ended the stream. Thank
Right
you.
on.
That was awesome.
That was great.